I hunt skinwalkers, but I might have found the last one. I've killed 17 skinwalkers, 17 different abominations that used to be human. Now twisted, hollow things wearing flesh like clothing and walking the earth like they still belong here. The first one nearly killed me. The third one begged for its life. The eighth wore my brother's face and tried to convince me that I'd imagined the whole thing, that I'd murdered him in a psychotic break. I still don't know if it was lying, but I do know this. What's out there in the woods, the canyons, the dust-choked back roads of Navajo land and deeper. That shit is real, and it's getting bolder. When I got the call 3 weeks ago, burnt-out voicemail from a woman who didn't give her name, just coordinates, and a word whispered so softly I had to crank the audio just to make it out. Yinadlushi. I hadn't heard that word in over a year, the Navajo term for skinwalker, but that's not something you say lightly, not unless you're desperate, or cursed, or both. Normally I ignore these messages. Most are crank calls or people confusing a rabid coyote for the devil. But this one felt different. And the silence that followed it, like the message had sucked the air out of the room. Like the word itself left a residue in my skull. So I packed my gear, topped off my tank, and headed for the coordinates. Middle of nowhere, Arizona. About 2 hours from any paved road. The kind of place where the trees grow sideways and the wind doesn't blow. It whispers. By the time I pulled up, the sun was low and angry, spitting orange fire across the landscape. The air had that smell, burnt copper and wet rock. Familiar. Wrong. The first thing I saw was a burned-out trailer, the kind that looked like someone set it on fire from the inside. There was no smoke. No fire, just blackened walls and a scorched mattress lying in the dirt like a half-melted tongue. Then I noticed the tracks. They weren't animal. They weren't human. They were something between. 5 toes. Long. Digits too spaced apart. Too deep for someone barefoot. Like claws had pressed into the soil, dragging something heavier than any man. Worse still, no entry trail, no signs of approach, only exit tracks, leading into the woods. That's the first rule. Skinwalkers don't come in. They come out. Whatever had happened here, it had started inside. I did a full sweep, no body, no signs of life. Just a few scattered bones, small, probably from a pet, maybe a cat. Blood in the gravel, dried and brown. A handprint on the trailer door, long-fingered and upside down. I knelt by the ashes and whispered the old prayer. Not because I'm religious. God's never answered my calls. But because sometimes you need the dead to know you're not their enemy. And then I followed the tracks. It was almost dark by the time I reached the tree line. That's where I saw her. A woman, maybe 40, standing barefoot in the brush, clothes torn, eyes wide, not blinking. Her skin was covered in something, dirt or soot, or maybe dried blood. She didn't look at me, just stared over my shoulder. I raised my hand slowly. "Ma'am? You the one who called?" She didn't answer, didn't blink. Didn't move. I stepped forward. "Are you hurt?" Still nothing. I took another step. That's when I saw it. Her foot was resting on a dead rabbit, crushed under her heel. The thing hadn't been stepped on by accident. It had been pressed flat, deliberately. Her eyes twitched. Not toward me. Upward. That's when I heard it. The sound of something scraping against bark, high in the trees, above us. I raised my flashlight, slowly, and saw it. It looked like a man at first, except it was bent. Wrong angles, arms too long, skin patchy, stitched in places, pieces of fur still clinging to its sides like bad taxidermy. Its face was a crude mockery, like someone tried to copy a human smile but didn't understand how muscles work. And its eyes, God help me, its eyes were everywhere. Tiny black pits dotting its skull, like punctures in reality. Some blinked, others didn't. It dropped silently behind her. No sound, no breath. Just there. And the woman smiled. Then she peeled off her skin. Not in a burst, not like a movie. It was calm, slow, like someone removing a coat. Her human face came off in one perfect motion, revealing something raw and wrong underneath. 2 skinwalkers, not one. The rules had changed. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed tonight's tale, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more horror stories every week. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new nightmare. And remember, some doors should never be opened. This is Malice Tales. Stay safe out there.